Patience, I'm going to get started. So, if you don't know me, my name is Kim Gibson, and I'm an e-learning support specialist with the Learning Engagement Office. And today's workshop is all about eClass. So the goal is I'll present a few kind of basic things that you can do on your own, but it's mostly going to be a kind of hands-on, do-it-yourself kind of workshop. So I'm going to set you up with some activities, and you're going to practice them yourself and do a little of exploring in something called a sandbox. So before I get started on what the schedule is going to look like, I'm going to have Amanda hand out this lovely chart, which was made by my awesome coworker and friend Alex. And what it does is just kind of gives you an idea of what's possible in eClass and kind of gets you thinking beyond what else you can do. So besides a paper copy, this version is also available on the Lantern under the Learning Engagement Office tab. So if you ever want to look at it again and think, oh, hey, yeah, I would like to do that, you can go to the Lantern and find it there. So I'm going to give you 10 seconds or so just to look it over. For those of you online, you will find this file under the takeaway files in the eClass Live environment. So go ahead and open that if you wish. All right, so just after glancing at it, I'm going to get just a feel for the room. How many of you saw something and you were like, oh, yeah, cool, I didn't know you could do that. That sounds awesome. What did you see, man?
Well, it's about automatically graded quizzes.
Automatically grading quizzes and tests? You didn't know that could be done?
No.
Yeah. So, in fact, we deal with a lot of quizzes online that are just auto-graded and the instructor doesn't have to do anything else. Yeah. Talk about make your life easy. Was there anyone else who saw something like, oh, awesome? My personal favorite is embedding videos directly into eClass. So if there's something on YouTube that you're like, that's a really good teaching tool, I want my students to see it, you can just plunk it right there in eClass and they can play it right from the eClassroom environment. So next, I will hand out the schedule for the day. And by me, I mean Amanda will hand it out. Thanks, Amanda. And again, online, the environment people, you can find the schedule in the same place that you found the progression chart that you just looked at. So the structure of today, we're going to follow 4 general topics. So first, the most important part, we're going to go over creating and using an eClass sandbox. This is integral to the day because that's where you actually get all of your eClass powers to play around. Then we're going to go over how to edit that course page. I'll introduce you to some Gradebook Basics, things you might not have been familiar with, and give you a glimpse into what kind of work we do with some courses. And finally, we'll explore a little bit about going digital with assessments. So if you've thought about it as an assessment in the classroom, chances are it's also possible on eClass, and it does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So we're going to get started. If at any point you think, I'm kind of comfortable with this, I'm familiar with it, I don't need practice in this, feel free to go on your own and play around a bit. I'm just going to be sticking to the basics, and if anyone brings anything up, then we can talk about a little bit more advanced things as they come up. This is a very flexible workshop. So first, creating a sandbox. Is there anyone in the room who already has a sandbox? You think you do? Right.
Well, it says I do.
And if you think, I don't remember if I have a sandbox or not, we're going to go through the steps of creating one and nothing bad happens. You don't get a duplicate one. You've always just got one sandbox. The world doesn't die. So we're going to create that sandbox right now. So to start, I would like you all to go to the ualberta.ca homepage. I do recommend using Google Chrome. That's usually the most friendly with eClass, but it's not necessary. You pick whatever is best for you. Up at the top of ualberta.ca, you'll see this navigation bar. It's got Find a Person, One Card, and the search bar on the end. I want you to click on eClass. So a lot of you are already probably very familiar with that step because you have to go to eClass often. That's just kind of my, if you're lost, like Kyle said, if you're lost, go home and you'll find eClass there. So here we are on the eClass portal page, and you're probably very familiar with this big green button. It used to be yellow, but that is our main go-to. On the side here to the left, you'll see all of these additional support pages, and that was created by our eClass IST team on main campus, just to give you some tools and help you out with some things that you might be able to do in eClass. But above that is our winner, request your course in eClass. To put a disclaimer on it, you can't always create your own courses. Most of the time, someone else will take care of that, or if it's web enhanced, usually you don't have to click on this. But today, we are. Boldly go where you've never gone before.
Request a course.
Request a course. Now, for this step, you're going to need your CCID and password. If you're suddenly like, oh no, I don't remember what it is, take your time, try to find it. Or if it's really that much, then you can buddy up with the person next to you and you can work through these things together. I'm going to put in my login information and then log in. Okay. Yes, Amanda?
Just want to point out, if anybody feels stuck at any point or missed a step, just holler and I'll walk around and help you out.
Right, thanks for pointing that out. So Amanda said, if you need help, we've got all of these lovely assistants across the room. Brian, you can't sit there forever, just so you know.
I'm
Sorry, putting you on the spot. Yeah, he's helping. So here we are on the request a course page. Easy enough. All you have to do is press request a course.
Actually, I have another laptop set up right now that I can give you.
And of course, you are not a student, you are an instructor. And if you're not an instructor, just pretend you are, because a student just kind of, that option shuts you down and says, okay, that's nice of you to try, but you can't request a course. So next. So here we are on this page. You've got 4 options for creating a course. The Bear Track sections is usually where we go to create your courses if your course is intensively supported by the Learning Engagement Office. You'll see, though, the 3rd option is create a Moodle sandbox. And there'll be a little description that pops up here that kind of explains what it is you're creating. So like the name suggests, a sandbox is a place where you can go and play and see what eClass can do without worrying about breaking anything for your students. So I want you to click on Moodle Sandbox and then go next. And that's it. You're going to get a confirmation message that, hey, it was created, and it will instantly show up on your eClass dashboard. Easy peasy, right? Hello. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Sorry, what you want us to do there?
Yeah, you've created your sandbox, Kyle?
Well, you don't want me to go beyond that, right?
Is there anyone who has not yet been able to create their sandbox? Except for the newcomers.
Yeah.
All right, no problem. So now we're going to go back to our eClass portal. And you can click on that green button now. That's going to bring you to your course overview page.
How to get back to that?
Oh, I actually had this tab open already. And you might too as well. Just take a look in your browser. Diane will help you.
Okay.
All right, here we are. So on your course overview page, you're going to have a list of all the courses that are still available to you, things that you teach or may have been a part of before in the past. Somewhere in that list, you're also going to find your new sandbox. And it should be entitled blank, whatever your CCID is, sandbox. I am going to find mine within this list because I know where it is relatively. So you can find your sandbox on the left-hand side or on the main page. So whichever suits you better, just scroll until you find it and then click on that.
So it's also down the side. Those characteristics of your sand.
That's right, you're in the sandbox now, but had you
Okay. Right, it does look like everyone is at least You've created the sandbox, and now you're ready to move on. Yes, Diane?
I'm just gonna keep an eye on Frank here.
Sure. Yeah, again, all of these people are here to help you. Call upon us anytime. So, on the main page of your sandbox, it's probably going to be blank. I've had this for a while. I've already played around in it. That's why there's content in there. We've done the very first step of creating and using your sandbox. So now we're going to go on how to edit your course page. And I want to preface this by saying things that you can do in your sandbox, you might not be able to do within your actual courses. It depends if your course is usually built by us or if it's usually just supplementary to your in-class presentations. So the sandbox is where you can always do your playing around. You should have editing powers to do things that we usually do in our job. So my favorite thing in eClass, your best friend, is the Turn Editing On button. You'll usually find this on just about every page in the top right corner. The Turn Editing On button, as soon as you have it on and you're making changes, changes are saved on this main page as you make them. You don't need to turn it off to save anything, and it automatically turns itself off if you close out of eClass. So once you turn it on, it's on for all your courses and you don't have to worry. Yes, Diane?
Kyle has a clarification question.
Yes, Kyle.
I just want to, well, it's I guess a confirmation, I think, is that if the course was created by Leo, then you wouldn't have the capacity to edit.
Right. If your course
You wouldn't have that button.
That is correct. If your course was created by us, you wouldn't necessarily have that button. So the only place where everyone's going to be able to play around the same way we do is in your sandbox. So you can turn editing on, and you'll see a whole bunch of icons pop up on the page. Once you've turned editing on for one course, it's on for all of your courses, again, until you close out that browser or log out of eClass or whatever you do.
It's for all your courses?
All the courses that you have editing access for. So we've turned editing on. I also wanted to point out that there's help and assistance built into the page at any point. If you're suddenly like, oh boy, I don't remember how any of this works. If you scroll down to the bottom of the page, yours is shorter than mine, you'll see in this green footer, Reset User Tour on this page. So this feature was built by our lovely eClass team on main campus, right after we updated eClass from 3.1 to 3.4 in Moodle, which was kind of like a big jump. And they built these tutorials on every single page to just kind of point out the key features and remind you how things work. And eClass will detect if that's the first time you've been on that page and automatically start it up. But if it's been a while and you're like, ooh, I would really like that tutorial again, you can always click on Reset Tour on this page. It's on every page within eClass. Additionally, there are so many things that you can do in eClass, so many toys. And first, what we're going to do is add some topics. So I'll just ask you to bear with me here while I change my course format so it's easier for you to see. Nope. Okay. So on your page, your blank, glorious slate, you should see a button that says Add Sections. Is there anyone who does not see that button?
Add sections.
Should be at the bottom. They've got a lot of built-in topics set up, so
Right.
you need to go to the bottom.
Okay, yes. You'll find it at the very bottom.
Add topics.
Add
Add
topics.
sections.
Add topics,
I'm going to click on that myself,
right?
and I want to add 2 sections. Yes, Diane.
Okay, I was going to say, theirs say topics, yours says sections.
Oh, curious.
So
Okay.
it may be because of your administrator status, or it may be the way your sandbox is set up.
That could be.
But all of theirs are saying topics.
Okay, it might say Add Topics or Add Sections for you, but they are the same feature.
So add topics.
And I'm going to add 2 of them myself, and I recommend you do the same.
And now it's switched to the word sections.
That is very strange.
Number of sections.
Yeah, add 2 sections.
It might be because of the format, is it different format?
It could be. Yeah.
No, it says now it says topics.
I know, that's okay, we'll do, we just, for this purpose, we're going to assume topics and sections mean the same thing.
Fine.
Until we run into a problem with that.
All right. Next, in one of those sections, let's pick a blank one, actually. Yeah, I'm going to go with my blank one. You will see a button that says Add an Activity or Resource.
Maybe one of those will have it.
So click on that. Now we have 2 options for this part. If there is anyone who has a file on their computer that they're comfortable uploading to eClass, no one else will see it, it's just for you. So this could be a Word document, a picture, you have it handy. We're going to go and add a file, which if you scroll down, you'll find it near the bottom under Resources in this pop-up window. If that doesn't necessarily apply to you, if you don't really have any files handy that you're like, yeah, I can put that in eClass, then I'll have you add a label, which is just a little bit further down from file. So is there anyone here that isn't able to upload a file?
I think you've gone too quickly.
Yes.
If I could just slow you down for a second.
Oh, of course, yeah, I'm going to wait.
Because now they have to go back to the main menu that they were just on to get to label. It's confusing.
No, I'm saying if they can't do a file, go back to label.
Okay.
All right. So if you can do a file, that is our number 1 choice. Yeah.
But if you
Now to clarify, a label is just an empty box that you can put some information into, and then it just sits on eClass. Whereas a file is obviously a document of some sort.
And can we go ahead and upload it, right?
You can, yeah. Don't wait for me.
Oh, okay, so you don't actually.
So I'm going to go ahead and add my file. So the cool thing about eClass is that you can click and drag a file in there, or you can go into the File Explorer. So I'm going to give everyone just a couple of minutes to upload the file their own way, and if you're having difficulty, just summon someone to you.
I'm going to go just on my desktop.
You're okay, Frank? You're okay, huh?
Oh, okay.
Oh, there. Okay. Lock on float.
And then, yeah, if you want to, basically just like,
Oh, okay.
so yeah, to actually add
Oh,
a file,
great.
you can put there, or you can physically drag a file from your desktop, for example.
So if I minimize the screen, just drag it away.
Is there anyone out there still uploading a file? All right, just a minute more then. I'm going to go ahead and do it myself.
Right. It's literally a sandbox.
Kyle, Frank, hi Kyle.
Looking at your food
I'll never forget my food. Don't forget my keys, don't forget my phone.
I forget where it is.
Oh, yeah, no. And where I parked the car, those things go.
Does anyone else still need a little bit of time?
From uploading a file, right?
Yes.
That's all we're doing, yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'm still trying to figure out how to get to Explorer so I can get, so I go file.
Oh, okay, so this, yeah, so here you wanna go, upload a file. And then, you'll.
Oh, there's my. Oh,
Okay. I think we're all right to move to the next step. So now you've created something. It's in eClass. Hooray! And you go, oh no, I put it in the wrong section. I needed it to go somewhere else. Never stress. it is easy to move things from one spot to another using those 4 little arrows that you see next to every single item. So now what I want you to do is click and hold on those arrows and drag that item across the page and see what happens.
Okay, but you want them first to go back to the main display?
Like where are those
As soon as you
arrows?
upload a file, it brings you here.
It didn't. It doesn't.
Okay, yeah, go back to your main course
So she needs
page.
to go down here to save and display.
Or save and return to course.
Or save and return to course. And then that's, okay, so you put it in there.
No, you click and hold.
Do you also want to say something about the required fields, the little red circle with the exclamation mark?
Oh, yeah, sure. Mhm.
Bring it down to the bottom.
All right, so for example, in my case, I'm going to move my item from one section to another because I don't want my book hanging out with all the assignments that I've created. My setup might look different from yours, but your sections should all be in one place, and you can click and drag it to the next section. And you can kind of see it jumping around there. There's like a little faded version of it, so you can kind of see where it's going to land when you let go. So just play around with that for a little bit, see about moving it. If you want, you can make more files even.
Drag and drop.
Drag and drop.
How do you collapse them?
Oh, in my case, I've got these little arrows next to my green rectangle. So if yours looks like that as well, you can click those arrows and it collapses. But some of you might just have boxes that are just open. It all depends on the settings in the main settings of your course, which I'll talk about in a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay?
Mhm.
Okay.
I know how to move a
So-
file. Create a file. So we've created a file and we
Right.
moved it,
All right. Cool.
okay? Mhm.
Another thing that we're going to do now is shift gears. As you see, I'm pointing to a gear. So one of my favorite sayings right now is, if what you think you're looking for isn't out here on the main page, if it's not out here, it's in the gear. Your actions gear will be at the top right corner of every single page on eClass. If you click on that, you see you've got a few options here. Like edit settings, that edits the settings of your entire course. The turn editing button is there as well, just in case. You've got it in 2 spots. There are a few other really advanced things that we don't use very often, but I do encourage you to click on them and kind of take a look to see what they're about. Especially the syllabus creation tool. So because the U of A has a standardized syllabus, we never use that because it doesn't quite create the product we're looking for. But it is really fun just to make a mock syllabus and see the end product. It actually is a pretty neat tool. So you can play around with that sometime on your own if you wish. And then under More, you have the administrative functions like looking at logs. So if you want to see what your students have been doing, when they've been doing it, so on and so forth, you can find it there. I want you, for the time being, to click on Edit Settings. That's at the very top of that list.
Make sure you're in the right place, just check to see if it can work in it, and then has to zero
So I have to edit the name of the course, full name, because it says ePrinter Sandbox.
Right, so the question was, do I have to change the name of the course? And the answer is, no, you don't have to change the name. You can leave it as is. You will notice, however, there's that little exclamation mark right next to the course full name. That means that that field is required. Something has to go in there. But when you created this course, they already put that name in there for you. So you can keep it as is. Another thing that I wanted to point out that's really handy on every page when you're creating something or editing something is these little green question marks. And if you click on them, a little pop-up will appear giving just a very brief description of what that setting does. So if you're scrolling through and you're like, oh, that's confusing, that's interesting too, I wonder what that does, click on the green question mark, it gives you some insight. So we don't have to change any settings right now, but I do encourage you to just kind of glance through the list and see what there is that you can do to change the settings of your overall course. The question was raised earlier in class about why my course looks a little different from your course. So yours might just have full boxes that are living there, while I have those collapsible green rectangles. And you can change the way your course looks through the course format. There's a whole bunch of different options. Go ahead and play around with them, see what they do. They all have their own, each individual different options when you choose one. So go ahead, play around, try to break things, see what happens.
Could you repeat that again, because we got lost and
Sure,
I'm not sure what we're doing.
no problem. It was mentioned earlier that my course looks a little different from everyone else's. So under course format in these course settings, there are a whole bunch of different options that you can use to play around and see how it looks in the end. You don't have to choose anything different now, but if you want to, you're like, I wonder what this does. Go ahead and click it and save it. If you're curious, right now my settings are collapsed topics. If you want those little green rectangles that open up and shut, that's where you go.
You want the what?
You want
Under format?
Yep, course format. If you want your Sandbox to look like mine, pick the collapsed topics from that drop down at the top.
What does that mean?
It means the topics, all the sections of your course, you can fold up into tiny little rectangles and then open them again with all the content. So just kind of, you can keep your course compact or open it all up.
I see, okay.
Yes,
Accordion.
like an accordion.
You do the student view, are you showing student view?
Yeah, I can cover student view. Yeah.
Stefan was just asking about how he knows that's what students are looking
Sure.
at. But
Well, I can touch upon that right now while everyone is doing their own thing. So if you are curious, if you want to see the world through the lens of a student, you'll find a little arrow next to your avatar in the top right corner.
Avatar.
Yeah, that's your picture. At the very bottom, you'll see Switch Role To. That'll bring you to a page where you can click on a button that will switch your role to, say, a student. And then for a while, you can pretend to be one of your students and see what they would see. That's a really handy tool if you want to make sure that there are certain things they can't access quite yet, or you want to see if anything looks goofy when you switch the view. It's something that we actually use quite often, so I highly recommend trying it out. You just have to remember in the end to switch your role back if you want to do any editing, because obviously if eClass thinks you're a student, you're not going to be able to edit anything after that. So you have to turn it back on, whatnot.
But to create, you always have to be an instructor.
Correct.
Or designer, I guess.
Yes. So in order to edit, you have to be in an instructor role. I'll give you one more minute and then I'll move on to the next task.
When it reads like that, it's actually on. It's like meter and catch.
All right, in about 10 seconds, I'm going to need you to be back on your main course page.
Yes, she's calling you, so you need to go back to here.
All right, so before we move on to the gradebook and kind of explore what that looks like and what it can do, we're going to need an assignment to populate into the gradebook. So again, anywhere on your course page, I want you to find that Add an Activity or Resource button and click on that.
On a different topic?
Doesn't matter. It can be on any topic. And in that pop-up, the second item is Assignment. And I'm going to get you to click on that. And then hit the green Add button when you're ready. Great. While we're waiting, if you want, just take a sneak peek at what sorts of settings are available in the Create an Assignment. And then I'll point out some key ones before we get going.
I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, I know, I don't want to start playing with it.
Oh, yeah, maybe that's fine. Maybe you need the bottom. Just maybe there's something that you need to say.
Or.
Okay, we're in a place we can't get out of. I don't know why.
Oh, Amanda will come to assist.
No, man, when I was doing, playing with the edit, it got me here.
We can't get out of it.
Yeah.
We don't know.
You know
We
what,
tried
all the time.
clicking on the sandbox, we tried going back, tried the dashboard. So we just can't get out of this. And I looked to see if there was a save difference between it or something that was like cut off
The due date, so the due date is when the student is expected to hand it in. The cutoff date is if they're late, they can't hand anything in anymore. And a lot of instructors prefer not to keep that so that they can see the late assignment and do with it as they will, because a lot of people...
Give them a 30% off.
Yeah, whereas if you set that cutoff date, then the student reaches out to you, then you have to do some rigmarole to get them to hand it in. So, but it is an option that is available if that's what you like to operate.
Okay, gotcha, thanks.
Thank you.
All right. So, on the Create Assessment page, we're going to make something up. I'm going to use this assignment later to give you a demo on how to use assignment workflow when you're marking a discussion. It's not necessary. Some of you might not ever actually mark discussions, but I wanted to kind of show you how it works to mark something and release the grade for yourself. So I'm going to name this assignment Discussion C grade. You can name it anything, example assignment, my assignment, assignment.
This is marking a discussion?
That's what I'm going to use it for.
How to do?
Yeah, I'm going to demo that later.
I didn't know we could do that.
You can, yeah. That's the one that gives people a lot of trouble, so I thought we could go over it.
Talking and then behind.
Yeah, that's okay. So, so
Oh,
this
there's the
is
assignment.
it's always set up with activities on the top and resources on the bottom. Basically, anything that students can interact with is going to be considered an activity. So we'll just click assignment there.
As you'll notice,
She's got, and then we'll look it up.
there's that exclamation point again. The only thing that is necessary for creating an assignment is a title. You don't need to do anything else, but depending on what your assignment is, some settings will be necessary. So I'm going to slowly scroll through, and I encourage you to do the same, and take a look at all of the settings that are available. Under availability, if you like, you can unselect everything except due date. And then you can either keep the date that's already in there or pick a random time in the future in which you think, all right, assignment's going to be due October 25th. Just play around with that setting for a bit, see how the dates work.
Do you understand what she said? Basically, you can change the dates when it's allowed.
So you'll see there's 4 things in there, like allows submissions from. So if you want, students can only submit something a few days before it's due. You can set it up that way, so nothing comes in really early. You have the due date, obviously, when you expect it to be handed in. The cutoff date, that's when students can no longer hand anything in. A lot of people are okay with some late submissions. They do it case by case. So a lot of people don't like to use cutoff date. And there's a remind me to grade by. That's just kind of like almost a calendar event. It's like, oh, hey, you've got some marking to do. Again, not something we use very often, but it can be very handy for you.
If I have a due date and it comes past the due date in time, it'll flag it as a late submission automatically, correct?
That is correct. So for those who didn't hear, if you have a due date and the student hands it in after that due date, eClass will let you know it is exactly this much late. 2 days, 2 weeks, whatever the case. Another cool thing, not necessary, but very handy for you, is the submission types. You can say, I only specifically want students to hand in PDFs, and you can choose it from the list here, which is a very huge list. Or you can just type in only .pdf or .docx or what have you. We've had this trouble in the past where students working on a Mac might try to hand in a Pages format, and that doesn't work on Windows. So there was always a conflict of why can't I see my students' work? Because it was in a format that wasn't compatible. So you can control that here, so you don't run into that.
And Kim, if you didn't put anything there, then it's open.
That's right. Anything goes if you don't put anything in there.
So it's almost better,
It's better,
in a
yeah.
sense, not to play with that unless you have to.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you'll find word directly. And so we'll actually say, see, document files. So you should say,
If it is something that applies to you, group assignments are also possible in eClass. And there are a whole bunch of settings here in order to set that up. By a whole bunch, I mean mostly one. Yes. Probably another really important one that's going to be applicable to all of you is the grade. Here you can actually put in, all right, my assignment is out of 25. How much it weighs is later in the grade book. So make up a random number right now, and I want you to put it on that maximum grade slot. And I'll give you a minute just to do that and look through the rest of it.
this is a characteristic of creating the gradebook.
Yes, so what the gradebook does is kind of monitors your course for any quizzes, assessments, any activities that might have a grade attached to it, and it automatically sucks it in, and it's like, all right, I'm going to see what grades you put in there, and it calculates things for you.
So making it here eventually creates the gradebook.
That's correct. So if you make an assignment tool, it's automatically going to show up in your gradebook. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you could, if you wanted, so basically.
So once you put in the settings that you want, you're pretty comfortable, you're ready to go, click Save and Return to Course. And I'll just give you another 30 seconds to do that. Marking workflow is what we're going to be using. So if you haven't hit Save yet, we're going to go turn on marking workflow. If you're where I am right now, click on the Edit button right next to the assignment you just created and click Edit Settings, and it'll bring you right back to where we were when we were creating it. Thank you for mentioning that. That's kind of important later on in the presentation. Back under Grade, we're going to scroll down.
Kim, just
Yeah,
a second, we're still trying to.
Absolutely. Under Use Marking Workflow, you'll change that to Yes.
So where are you under grade?
Yeah, under Grade,
Click on grade.
Use Marking Workflow, Yes.
And then, of course,
There's use marking workflow.
That's what I do.
All right, is there anyone who has not put Marking Workflow on their assignment? Great. Thank you. And your name? Evelyn saved my presentation. Thank you, Evelyn. It wouldn't have been disastrous, but it saves me the work later. All right, so after you have Use Marking Workflow set to Yes, you can save and return to course. All right, so that was the hefty editing part. Now I'm going to move on to the Gradebook Basics. This one will be really short. I want you to click on Grades in the top left corner here. You'll find it as the third item underneath the left-hand navigation. For those of you who might not be seeing your left-hand navigation, you'll see this button with the hamburger icon up at the top. If you just click on that, it opens and closes your menu.
All she's telling you is this opens and closes this line.
Yeah. It all depends on how you like to look at your page. You can keep it open or closed. So click on Grades. And then you'll notice here in your gradebook you have some fake students, and that's just when you're playing around with grades to see what happens. They're not real people. So under the grader report here, you'll see a tab system, and this is the new kind of navigation that we've got in eClass. Before it used to be a drop-down menu, and you'd scroll through all these items to see what was most applicable to you. So it's a lot easier to get around. And to see the gradebook, you're going to click on Setup. So under this page, you should now see that assignment you just created. So I have a story about the gradebook, just to kind of give you an idea of how much it can help your life. We were helping this instructor with eClass, who had basically created his own learning management system. So he replicated his own eClass in a spreadsheet. What he had done was used a bunch of complicated if-then statements and all these formulas to put the assignment weighting in and the grade and have it calculate an average, and then had something else that would switch the number to a letter grade depending on what the U of A wanted as a letter grade. And he spent like hours upon hours of work setting up this spreadsheet. And then in the end, we were like, sorry, that's already set up in eClass. You didn't have to do any of that. And he just kind of like collapsed and like, oh no.
So he didn't know eClass was available?
He didn't know that you could do that within eClass. Yeah, eClass can save you so much time in terms of grading and weighing the marks and everything. So rely on eClass. It is your heavy lifter. All you have to do is put in the numbers. So on the gradebook setup page, you have the option of moving around items if you have more than one. So you can organize it by quizzes and assignments. All you have to do is click on those move icons. You also have the option of affecting weights. So obviously, your final exam would probably weigh more than a quiz. So you can change that here so that everything adds up to 100 and it weighs how much you prefer it to weigh. Additionally, what we usually do is change the letter grades for you, especially if we intensively support your class. So to see those letter grades, you click on letters up at the top on those tabs. And in your Sandbox, you have this new awesome feature of edit your own grade letters. You usually don't have access to this. So I'll give you a couple minutes. I want you to click on edit grade letters and then play around with the weights and what letter it will translate to.
Kim,
Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you. I have a class at 1.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
here in a one-day seminar, so I'm just going to sneak back, open the
Okay.
room. Thank you.
Yeah,
very
thanks
much.
for joining us.
And pleasure.
If you want, this is being recorded so you can look at it later and
Okay.
catch up on what you missed.
Get lots of perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, okay, so I have a sheet on my front of me that I use for putting
Your syllabus will have that.
Yeah.
If you've clicked on edit grades and you find nothing's happening, make sure you have clicked override site defaults. That opens everything up. It's no longer gray. You can put your own numbers in.
So you have to be cautious with this, just because the university will have a certain set of grades.
No, they don't.
That's right, yes.
They do, they tell us what it is and what it is.
But the beauty of this is that you only have access to editing the grades in your Sandbox. You don't have to worry about messing up the grades in your other course, especially if you're intensively supported by us. So go ahead, play around, change those numbers.
Like I use that from Max didn't get it, so Max didn't get it. What an A is equal to B. There's no actual chart on Google website. Oh. That tells you what our E and B plus is. That's not what I understand. Now that makes
Okay, I'll give you 10 more seconds and then we'll move on. All right, now I'll get you to click Save Changes. And then it's in there. Your gradebook will remember what your letter configuration is. Finally, the last thing I wanted to point out about eClass, which probably most of you are already familiar with, is that at the end of the term, once you've marked everything and it's time to submit your grades to Breadcrumb, you can extract something from eClass that will give you exactly what you need to make your job really easy. If you go to the Export tab,
export tab.
yeah, it's at the very end up on the top.
Yeah.
And on the bottom here, you'll see you have new tab options, and right in the middle is Breadcrumb Grade Export. I'll have you click on that as well. So here you would have the option of all of your assignments, what you want to include in your documentation, and then you would click the green button at the bottom, which I believe does say Export. It will automatically download a CSV file for you, which you can use as your backup documentation on Bear Tracks.
Sorry, what does that mean?
Sorry, what do you mean by that, Kyle?
CSV.
A CSV, that's a specific file type. It means comma-separated values, so that the computer can easily see all of the numbers and knows this is an individual item, is the very technical description of it.
That.
It's just a
I've never seen
spreadsheet.
that request for a CSV.
Oh, I see. Now, before I move on to the last item, are there any questions that you have currently? Okay, great. Up at the top of the page here, you'll see these breadcrumb links. And breadcrumbs is just another way of saying, these are all of the links you clicked on so far to get here. So if you look at your breadcrumbs, you will see your Sandbox somewhere in there. And if you click on that link, it will bring you back to your main course page. So I'll get you to do that now.
Yes.
So I have another story for you, and it's about assessments. And this one came from Alex, really. He was dealing with an instructor who traditionally dealt with her assignments through email. So she would have her students email their assignment submissions to her, and she would reply back, and there was a whole bunch of back and forth. She had hundreds of emails of all of these assignments that she had to sort through on her own. And Alex showed her the assignment tool where students can get the file they need, submit this thing. She can look it all online and put the grade right there. And it changed her life. I'm pretty sure she cried herself to sleep that night. Like, oh my God, I've seen the light. Oh, she may or may not be in the room. So any assessment that you've thought of, we can probably do it on eClass. If you're thinking, okay, well, my students have to do a speaking test. If they have access to a video camera, they can record themselves and submit that recording online. If it's an art submission, they can take a picture of the art and submit that online. If it's a final exam, a quiz, an essay, just about everything you can think of, we can assess it on eClass. So, right now, I just wanted to demonstrate.
You mean they can submit it on eClass?
Yes, the question was they can
assess.
You can have it submitted and you can assess it all online. You don't have to print anything off. Everything can live right here in eClass. And we can help you with that. So if you're like, I would like to try this out, just contact us and we will see about setting it up for you. So last thing of the day, we're actually going to mark an assignment. We're going to pretend an assignment is there. So I want you to click on that assignment tool that you made earlier.
The assignment tool.
Yes.
There are other things that we can
Alright. So I'm going to show you a slightly different way of doing things that isn't in our written instructions that you'll find on our website. So there's two ways that you can grade assignments using this tool. So the easiest way to go about it is just to click the grade button. So what happens when you do that is you're faced with this assignment marking panel. On the right-hand side is everything that you can do. So you can give them a grade, you can give them feedback, comments, so on and so forth. This big blank space right here is where their assignment would actually be. So if they wrote a paper for you, you would see the title page here, and then you can scroll through the pages up in this navigation bar at the top. So right now, on your assignment tool, I want you to pretend there's an assignment there. You're marking it. On the right-hand side, I want you to give a grade for this student.
So this is assuming that you're marking it online.
Yes. I want you to practice that right now.
So pretend there's an assignment in here, and then you're going to submit a grade. Click on the page.
Now, if you set a assignment workflow in your assignment tool settings earlier, you're going to have this little drop-down menu here, marking workflow state. So just to reiterate again, marking workflow is just a workaround that we use so instructors can release their own grades, because traditionally, especially for intensively supported courses, you had to email Leo and ask us to do it for you, and now you can do it on your own time. So if you're done on the weekend, students don't have to wait till Monday to get their marks. So for now, I want you to click on that marking workflow state, and I want you to click on released. And once you have the grade and released, click Save and Show Next.
Here's the issue. Does she mark out of 50 or does she mark out of 100?
Whatever is in that little box there.
50, so she
Yeah.
puts like up to 50.
Yes.
But they got 80% on this.
So that's like 45, that's correct.
Yeah. Make up a number. Play around. Fail some students.
Down to 50 points for this assignment, so you must put in up to 50.
So I'm going to give you some time. I want you to do that for all 5 of your demo students.
Like you can mark all of your signs out to 100 if you want, you can do that. But when you set yours up, you mark it.
That makes sense, that's fine.
I'm sorry, Kim, what was the last thing you said? Because, so
Right.
you've got the 50 in with the grade,
So
and you've got it released. So
you've got released, then you're going to save and show next, and I want you to do that for all of your demo students.
So notice how we've done student number 2, and here's the next page. So what happens is the grading book is actually giving you, the completed one is moved to the next student in the lineup. Okay, so now you're doing the same thing, you give them the grade and release the grade. Kim, if I
Yes.
could make a recommendation,
Mm-hmm.
as somebody who has done this as an instructor, it might be a good idea to mark all the assignments first and then decide to go back and release. Because sometimes you make an error, and if you
Right.
already released it, the students will get the error. So
Yes.
you do have to pay attention as an instructor,
Mhm.
that you need to be making sure that all the grades are put in right, that you put in the right information. So I would recommend, rather than releasing one by one, that they release in a group.
That is a good point. Thanks, Diane. So the reason that we haven't written these instructions for doing it this way is because of that very fact. You want to make sure that your grades are, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted before you release them. So if you are comfortable with it, you can do it this way and release as you mark. Once you have done all of your students, you'll be brought back to someone that you can see, oh, there's already a grade here, I'm done.
Okay, so basically what she said is when you get to the end of your 6 students in your class, you'll see the next one will already have the grade and released in it. So you'll know you have gotten through all of your students.
So once you are all done, go back to those breadcrumbs at the top, and I want you to click on the assignment name. That should be the last item in your breadcrumb list. We'll be back to this page.
Dashboard,
I'm sorry?
we are going back to.
We're going to go back to the assignment page. So whatever you named your assignment, I want you to be on this page here.
How many more students do you have? So keep going. So you now say, okay, now come on to the
Is there anyone who isn't on this page?
Not yet, just.
Yes?
Yeah. Just click on here. That's where we're supposed to be.
Okay.
Grading summary.
So that was one way to mark and release your students' grades, and it goes really fast. The way that we officially tell you how to do it, so that you make sure, yeah, these are the grades I want, I'm ready to release them. You're going to click View All Submissions. This will bring up a list of all your students and the option to grade all of them. Up at the very top here, under the word Select, you'll see this little box. If you hover over it, it says Select All. I want you to click on that Select All, and then all of your students should be highlighted in yellow or orange. So make sure everyone is selected. Scroll down to the bottom. And here, next to the words with selected in this drop box, I want you to click on the drop box. At the very bottom, you'll see Set Marking Workflow State.
Whatever that means, that is bizarre.
Buzzword, buzzword, buzzword. So you can click on Set Marking Workflow State and then hit Go. Set marking word. Okay, you might get this pop-up that says, are you sure you want to do this? Click OK. So you should see a page similar to this, where it's going to list some of your students at least. And you'll see this option, a marking workflow state. You can click on that drop down and select released. That's the official way that we have written our instructions to tell you how to send marks out to your students without us being the middleman. Once you click Save Changes, you are all done.
Why does it say for each student, no submission?
Oh, that's because for this,
We didn't really submit.
yeah, this is a fake assignment tool. No one's actually put anything in
Submit
there.
everything. Okay.
That concludes what I wanted to go over today for the workshop. However, this is your time to play around some more if you wish. Ask questions of us and generally just kind of, explore eClass on your own time. So, are there any further questions at this time?
Yeah, could you take us through the discussion aid grades again?
Sure, okay. So I suppose we can stop the recording pretty soon. I'm going to go over just what we had just done. If you have any questions, email us at leolearn@ualberta.ca. We'll send a follow-up email about this presentation. Okay.